the Black-Scholes model, a Nobel Prize-winning derivative model for pricing options, a model taught at the world's top business schools as a tool for investing. However, as many practitioners of finance and investing point out, its assumptions bring into account several inherent flaws. Sometimes, some that can be completely fatal for investment portfolios. Welcome back to the Finance Bible. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to ensure you are kept up to date on all the latest finance and investing news, data, and hear from the world's top minds of finance. Today's episode is brought to you by Financial Quantamental, the quintessential community of finance and investing that's using a blend of fundamental and quant research to solve the world's biggest problems. To learn more, go to www.financialquantamental.com. That's www.financial-quantamental.com. Today, we're hearing from Todd Simkin, Associate Director at Susquehanna International Group and CEO of Susquehanna Re, or SIG. SIG, the mysterious Philadelphia area-based investment firm, is a quantitative research shop known for its cutting-edge tech and research. Recently, on the Capital Allocators podcast, Todd Simkin broke down how the foundational investment philosophy at SIG really stems from the belief that stock distributions in the real world are different than the assumptions the Black-Scholes model makes. Here's Todd to explain further.
One thing that was part of our philosophy from the start was looking at stock distributions and index distributions and saying that the Black-Scholes model, which is literally Nobel Prize winning math, this is amazing stuff, has assumptions built into it that we know are just wrong. Among the assumptions that are built in is a normal distribution of stock returns, which would lead to a log normal distribution of stock prices, which for any of the non-mathematically minded people, you might want to tune me out for the next minute or two, but that means that it's a right skewed distribution. And what that implies is that the median and the mode will be below the mean. Again, putting that in layman's terms, most of the time you would see the market drift down a little bit. Day after day, you would see it down a little bit. And sometimes you would see it just boom, you would see it double in value. What we've actually experienced with stocks is the opposite of that most of the time stocks are up a bit, that your best guess on the value of a stock 3 months from now is that it's going to be up a little bit more than where it is today. And sometimes it's going to be down a lot. And that's a left skewed distribution. And in order to use the Black-Scholes model and get that pricing, you either have to lie to the model about what the volatility is at different strike prices or find some other adjustments to make to say, we think that the value of these out of the money puts, this downside protection, these options that pay more when the stock crashes, we think the value of that is higher than what you would find in the Black-Scholes model. And we think that the value of the out of the money calls, this is before meme stocks and FOMO, so this might have changed a bit, but we think that these out of the money calls are going to be overvalued by Black-Scholes, and therefore we'd be willing to sell them at the Black-Scholes value and buy the puts at the Black-Scholes value. That was the philosophy from early on, part of the observation from the founders of the firm. And because of that, they said, we've got this big option portfolio. Let's make sure that we are never short the downside. Let's make sure that if anything, we are long the downside, because that's the protection we need to make sure that we stay in business if we're right about the appropriate shape of the distribution of stock returns.
So what exactly is the Black-Scholes model? Created by Myron Scholes and Fisher Black at the University of Chicago in 1973, it's a mathematical formula used to calculate the price of stock options. Think of an option like a special ticket that gives you the right to buy or sell a stock at a certain price before a certain date. The Black-Scholes model helps determine how much this ticket should be worth. So what does it do? Well, imagine you have a ticket to buy a movie at today's prices, but can use it any time in the next year. The Black-Scholes model helps figure out how much that ticket is worth today based on a few important factors. But the basic idea is to plug in the numbers into the formula to get the option's price. For those curious, using our movie ticket example, here's how those numbers would plug in. If the current market price of the movie is $10, and the strike price or the ticket price you pay when you actually watch the movie in the future is also $10. And the time to expiration, or the time left on the ticket, is 1 year. And the risk-free rate, which is the interest rate, is assumed to be 5% annually. And the volatility, aka how much movie prices might change, sigma, is let's assume 20%. Then you plug all this into the formula and you get 1.05, meaning the value of the special ticket is $1.05. To summarize, based on this model, this ticket is worth $1.05. You should pay no more than this. And with it, you then have the option, but not the obligation, to pay for a movie ticket at the price of $10. This, of course, would only really make sense to use if the price of movies at some point in the future is greater than $10. However, the Black-Scholes model makes several assumptions that do not always hold true in real markets, leading to issues. So, in summary, while the Black-Scholes model is a foundational tool in finance and provides valuable insights, it is important to be aware of its limitations and assumptions. As Todd Simkin of SIG mentions, you have to take these considerations to heart and really make adjustments. Other more complex models are out there that aim to address some of these issues, but the Black-Scholes model remains a useful starting point for understanding option pricing. Likewise, similar to how the Black-Scholes model exhibits academic assumptions against real-world realities, you see that in behavioral finance against statistical probabilities also face issues. Todd offers more on this. He shares a story about how game theory plays such a key part of Susquehanna trading strategies they teach to their junior traders, but how his appearance on the game show, Jeopardy! Showed him how, in a perfect world, game theory probabilities can rule supreme, but in the real world, behavioral finance and how people think introduces factors one would never have anticipated.
That took me to the second night where after a tragic loss in Daily Double, where I added a letter to one person's name. So going into Final Jeopardy, instead of me being in the lead, like I would have been if I had gotten that Daily Double right, I was behind. So I had 3,600 and both of the other players had 8,200. So now you have this different question. What do you do knowing that they are tied with each other and I've got 3,600? So here, my mind was spinning a bit more. Any thoughts?
I would think you have to get into the conditional probabilities of the likelihood of you getting it right and them getting it wrong.
Yeah.
But if it's all the same probability, you'd probably bet 0.
And I bet 0. That's exactly what I did. So I said, they have to worry about each other. Again, it would be pretty bad for either of them if they didn't bet at all. They both got it right and still lost. So I figured they're both likely to bet everything. If they don't bet everything, it's because they're betting enough so that they beat me if I double up anyway. So doubling up doesn't do me any good. And there's some chance that they're going to bet in such a way that they beat me if I get it wrong no matter what I bet. So betting 0 felt like the right way to go. And that way I also got to give an answer, which was a nonsense answer, which was my college roommate. I got to ask who is Clay Spencer, who was my college roommate. So yeah, I bet 0. The other two both got it wrong. One of them bet 8,200. They bet their full amount. And the other person bet 1,800, which would not have won if I had doubled up. It didn't make sense to me at all. And I was more perplexed by that than I was by the actual answer to the question. And we were walking back to the green room afterwards because they film show after show. And I turned to her. Her name was Jen. I said, Jen, why did you bet 1,800? I'm trying to make sense of your bet in Final Jeopardy. And she said, well, because then if I got it right, I would have had 10,000. And 10,000 is a lot of money. Totally true. That's absolutely right. If you are the winner, you walk away with the money. And I could see that was part of the answer. But I was like, but you only get that if you win. I could not make sense of it. And that was one of the disconnects between going in thinking like a gambler, thinking like a bettor, and going in thinking like most people, which is a very reasonable thing. $10,000 is a lot of money.
That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video and find it informative, be sure to like and subscribe to the Finance Bible.